Mayor is once again asking the city council to consider using pandemic relief money to avoid impending budget cuts. Some think it's a good idea. Others shot it down last time it was proposed in December. Northern News Now's Rob Coles breaks down the mayor's budget ahead of an important council meeting tomorrow.
In an effort to decrease Duluthians' property tax burdens, last December, the city council voted to lower Mayor Larson's proposed property tax increase by 1%. That means the city would have about $383,000 less to operate this year. At that time, Councilor Janet Kennedy advocated to use American Rescue Plan funds to cover the cost of those cuts, but the council didn't vote in favor of that. Now Mayor Larson is asking the council to reconsider using Rescue Plan money to fund the budget. Larson emailed the council Tuesday making that request. At this point, the budget cuts would be spread equally across all city agencies, and each department would have a $42,000 cut to make. Councilors who voted against using ARP money in December have said it's a temporary fix and the city will end up having to pay for it later. But seeing the impact on different departments, Councilor Kennedy says it's important to use that money now.
Because we aren't going to have this next year. I get it. But we have it this year to sort of soften that blow, and that's what it's made for. And in the meantime, we still need to look for how are we building more strategies around creating more revenue.
According to Kennedy, some of those strategies for raising revenue include working to bring more jobs and organizations to Duluth and advocating for more LGA funding in St. Paul, which stands for Local Government Aid. That's money the state provides to cities to operate core services. Kennedy is hoping that LGA funding could increase in the next few years. In her email to the council, Mayor Larson said there has been positive movement for LGA in St. Paul. She said under the current proposal, Duluth has a more than $5 million increase indexed for inflation moving forward, and the 1% cut from this year's budget can be absorbed by a small portion of that money.
Thank you, Rob. We reached out to the city for comment. They declined interviews and instead issued this statement saying individual departments are working through ways to make budget savings, and a presentation at tomorrow's meeting will lay that out. Look for coverage tomorrow night at 10.